another brief moment in time when we get to see the change of the tides. The shifted, twisted bit technology showcasing the little bits of safety, while the quick trips are surely randomly sparking the photons around me. Let the light flow from the heat, yo. When the photons ignite, highlighting, yo, then you know it's that time when we force a change in tides. A little bit lined with something in us. It's almost like we something else, autonomous, or maybe perhaps it's that missing piece you needin'. Perhaps it's that simple message you searching. Perhaps it's just a different time framing us for the next adventure in the mainframe. Getting excited, so are the photons. Don't laminate so we can change the coupon. Let me raise the hash rate, submit the coupon fake, and reduce the rate while we mine our major bags. Crypto technology like cryptographic money will hash in your life into a set of QRs. It doesn't matter cause it's time for 3D changes perspectives. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, everybody. I apologize for the intro. We were having some audio issues right there at the very last second, but we got them going. As you should be able to hear them in your ear now. Okay, so we were still getting everything adjusted and everything. Basically, like I showed up, my audio just wasn't working, and I had to really push to get it fixed. So here we go. All right, now why is that following my mouse? Okay, hello. All right. Let's do the test. I want to thank everybody for showing up, coming in, and staying for today, because today we got a special episode. As you see, some of the biggest takes yet. And so, let's go through it. There almost always are varying perspectives about everything, especially constructs of stuff like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So today, I want to look at one or more perspectives of Bitcoin, and we're going to ask the question, FUD or base. Now, however, normally we have been looking at like one person's perspectives, perspectives, right? Per episode, but then the last episode we kind of went over a bunch of perspectives of various entities over just basically the same central topic. Over last episode, it was over Jeffrey Epstein's involvement in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So today we're going to follow that kind of trend of looking at more than one person's perspective, and then get it over a general construct or thought or belief. So we will rate the various perspectives as FUD or based, because simply sometimes reality exists within the FUD. So let's find out FUD or based perspectives. But first, we need to thank our partnerships and sponsorships. First, I want to thank The Organized for teaming up with Bitcoin Live Digital Broadcasting, DB, as both, with Bitcoin Live and DB and The Organized. It's a powerhouse combo. I see new highs for both organizations. Now, if you haven't checked out any of The Organized early morning broadcasts for stacks and other topics that seem to be taken up with like every morning and every day, well, they go find them on Twitter. It's about anywhere you find me right now, except for maybe Odyssey. And now I want to thank our sponsor. So, hold on a second. I actually have something for you to look at. So, I want to thank our sponsor, Shieldfolio, for sponsoring today's episode from within a quantum bit, as well as the Bitcoin Live DB network. Now, if you haven't checked out Shieldfolio, it's like a little black book. It's made from stone paper, so they're fade resistant, tear resistant, and even water resistant. So the info and secrets you store in your Shieldfolio will last whatever you throw at it. I personally have a Shieldfolio, and I use it for my website info, contacts, crypto keys, among other things that I don't want on my computer or online. They're like these little black books that are pocket-sized and ready to be in your life, regardless if you adventure online or offline. Like, it's always going to be with you. Like, no joke, it is an actually great little book. There's a whole bunch of products on the website. Go ahead, you see a giant QR on your screen, scan that. You can go ahead and jump over, find their website, find their products. Go ahead and get your cart set up and use Bitcoin Live 20 at the checkout. Get 20% off your purchase today. Go ahead and say thank you for showing up and coming in. Now I'm going to go ahead and roll in with the roll-ins before we roll on in. news. Alright. Thank you again, Shieldfolio, for sponsoring today's episode. Now, don't have to worry if throughout the episode I'm gonna actually have that little QR at the bottom of the screen so the lady's kind of freaking out. Alright, so right there, that QR will get you there throughout today's episode. So any point in time you can come back, you can check through, you can scan back, you can get your thing, and you can see what's going on, what we're talking about with the Shieldfolio. Now, excuse me, I have my coffee. We have a set of stuff in front of me. I want to say, welcome into the photon of the greater fourth dimension's great quantum machine, because we're about to jump into the jump-ins of the things that we do. Okay. So, the way we do this is pretty much anywhere we go, anywhere we show up, we're going to drop a QR on your screen for you to just go ahead and scan that. You can use your phone, OCR, smart reader, all sorts of different ways to do this. But basically, we're going to show you where we're at all points of time so you can follow along. So, for example, this is the organized media, and they're like, they go live just about every day. Like I said, they got their morning board, Bitcoin and stacking stocks. So, if you want to see what's going on daily with your digital pump and hookup, come check them out. They always have something going on and something great to see. So, we want to give you the free pre-search query. So today's free pre-search query is, what are BTC biggest threats to its survival moving forward in 2026 and beyond? So, like always, I did not use this query in today's episode research, but that doesn't mean that we won't have overlapping links. So if anything about today's episode interests you, this free research query should help you find more to help you. Just a reply after the show, scan the QR on your screen with your phone, QR, whatever like we said, and then jump down this rabbit hole after today's episode. Okay. Now my phone says we got catch-up deets. When we have catch-up deets, I need to just go ahead and bring you all in. Alright, so, okay. Everyone may have an opinion on Bitcoin. Doesn't matter if they use it or not. So one of the reasons why some of us in the cryptocurrency space for a long period of time, we use this perspective of yeah or nah point of view. It's kind of like because information is an attack vector, you know. So if like 1,000 people online say the same thing about something, it may become searchable. If at any point in time any perspective becomes searchable, it may trend, and if perspective trends, it may be spoken about in mass media. Now, if something is spoken about in mass media, even if untrue, may become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So by fighting data with data, we may sway in which way mass media might actually potentially talk about it. So that's what we're doing here. We're actually going to fight data with data. That's the whole point of today's episode. That's the whole point of this whole FUD versus base. It's data versus data. Alright, so here is the very first thing for the day. So starting off with jokes, but let's get aside the Epstein jokes. This does actually showcase a serious issue. Let me read what it says real fast. This is not a drill. The Dutch authorities, without a warrant, just seized one of our VPN servers, saying they'll give it back after they fully analyze it. When Scribe uses RAM disk server, so only thing the authorities will find is stock on Ubuntu install. The biggest worry is, well, the unredacted Epstein files we had on there. So the joke there obviously is that, well, you know, the Epstein files is the joke. The part that's very serious is that this little empty slot here you see in their computer, like right above my head. See, there's a whole bunch of little racks. There's one missing. That one missing, well, it's a server. And it's gone. It does highlight the very serious issue of the government could just show up and seize your miners' nodes, hardware wallets, etc. This is something many don't even think about. Okay? Nor do they think about where their keys are and how keys are publicly linked to the owner's funds. And people may use extended public keys on their miners or tech that is a revolved around their currencies that they like to use to help sign transactions. Well, this also means now your private keys are determinable if you're one of those people that does that. Okay, that actually means that government coming in and walking in and grabbing your stuff has a lot more implications than just simply finding Epstein files. What if they found your Bitcoin keys? So, hold on a second. 1 second. All right, sorry about that. So, something I always, well, I guess I always, something we've been doing a lot lately is we've been asking just research, right? Research AI, hey, blah, 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 blah. So I asked it, how can I get my private key out of my exam public? And it says right here, no, 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 no. Not even possible. I mean, this is what the AI says, right? Kind of seems fishy to me, especially when you look at the very first results. Oh, actually, no. Turns out you can't. I mean, sure, it's testing and education purposes only, but doesn't mean you can't, right? It actually means that it's possible. Some way, shape, or form. It's there. So, what this really points to is that it turns out we know how to actually do this and kind of have been able to since 6 or 12 months after extended public keys were actually introduced into the Bitcoin system. Like, this isn't an unknown knowledge. This is known of the cryptographic stuff for, like, Bitcoin is it's known. It's not unknown. So this is kind of how free and open source software works. I mean, aka FOSS software. It is, we know how it works. We know all the insides. We know we know all this little bits of information. So it's kind of easy to say that the perspective that the government may one day show up and seize your stuff, well, that could actually put your Bitcoin at risk. That's based, and it is a real threat to consider when storing and handling your electronic equipment for Bitcoin. Something not a whole lot of people think about. You see a lot of people advertise, "Oh, get the hardware wallet, get the hard." People don't always think about what that really means. For example, if it's on a piece of paper, okay, that data has to be transferred off that piece of paper in order to be used. Well, that in almost all countries is going to have its own type of protection, especially in the USA. Okay. So, we're just going to keep going. We're going to keep going. Like I said, these are some of the biggest takes. First one, place. All right. So, here we go. I'm not going to play the clip. I'm going to read what it says. People are still confused why Bitcoin tanked so quickly. The Epstein file documents revealed it was created by the NSA and promoted by the Epstein wealthy elite. It doesn't scare you, then I don't know what will. It will bounce, but ultimately it's going to zero to implement the new system. Alright, we actually reviewed these files. I actually reviewed this conversation in extreme detail. Okay? I reviewed over the situation of lots of people sent at Jeffrey random all the time in hopes to get free vacations. And by vacations, we do mean traveling to his island and getting various forms of actual entertainment. I say it that way because we have at least one point in time that they had like maybe a band or something, so there actually was entertainment there, but outside of what everyone knows it for, right? Okay. So now I just have to say it like this. You can actually check out, um, meanwhile, with my previous episode, where I went over the Epstein files, I actually used the Epstein files and the government search program, that tool the government provided to search the Epstein files. I used those to disprove or prove, because there was some provings, quite a few common statements that you may have already heard of online. So you can just check out that episode after this one if you're more interested in what Jeffrey Epstein had to do with Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and other things like that. Like we go over it. What is up, bro? So morning from Lakeland, Florida. What? It's nice to see you come in, Mr. Kevin or Mrs. Kevin. I don't know, Miss Kevin Hawthorne. Thank you for showing up. Bitcoin Live. What up, bro? So let's go. You know it. That's right. Well, hold on. I got one of these things in here. See, let me see. Blah, 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 blah. No, I don't know where it's. Oh wait, no. Dang, I can't read the thing. I don't know. I have a thing somewhere. We're just gonna go with that one. It worked. I actually need to get bigger buttons. Just I can't read. As weird as the one I like to hit.
Dumbass.
Oh, thank you. That was my wife. Okay. Alright. So we're gonna keep going. So basically, I think every time I do over video over Bitcoin debunking or proving or anything like that, where I'm asking other people, hey, is there anything you need covered or anything you consider, blah blah blah. I almost always get a Financial Times article that says Bitcoin is still about blank price too high. And I don't know if it's the exact same one and they just keep editing it, or if it really is a different one each time. But hold on a second. Let me take a drink of my coffee. Let me say it like this. Okay? Financial Times is not here to give you good advice on finance. It's my opinion, true, but it's my honest opinion. Okay? So please stop sending me this article. But we do go over it. I ain't gonna just ignore it. Because every time I get it, I wonder, does it say the exact same thing each time? No. Generally, yes, but no. It starts off with a different thing, it has different context, and it ends differently. But the general ideal every single time is exactly the same. Okay. So we're gonna read maybe 4 paragraphs into this bullshit influential part. So basically, a lot of this is just trying to influence the way you think. This is a hit piece disguised as journalism. It's really, really bad. Starting off with some French like they try to put some kind of paint some picture or some bullshit that doesn't even have anything to do with anything. They just, if you believe this picture they paint, it'll be a whole lot easier for you to believe whatever it is they're gonna say. Alright, so where is it at? It said 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So let me put this sensitively. It is not Bitcoin's excessive confidence, or more precisely, the confidence they project, crucial in keeping the whole scheme going, has always been unwarranted, irresponsible, and foolhardy. Ever since its creation, Bitcoin has been on a journey that will end splattered on the ground. I think that's probably the only part of this whole thing that stays the same. It's really stupid. Okay, so Bitcoin had its worst crash in 2022, falling close to 60 grand. At one point Friday, it wiped more gains than it's seen since Donald Trump's re-election. And it's like, it all comes down to this one. That's it. This whole thing comes down to, it's all about the price of Bitcoin isn't where it was, therefore it's bad, bro. And now everything after this, like throughout this whole thing, it basically just is hit pieces on individuals in the crypto space. That's it. It's basically giving someone an opportunity to call other people dumb that they believe is dumb in the longest winded way possible. It's pretty terrible. Pretty terrible. Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty easy to say that article's FUD. It's really easy to see it for a lot of people. I don't have to go too far, I don't think. Okay, so one of our previous BTC perspectives with FUD and base episodes, we actually pointed out that BTC price tends to follow the hash rate, and the hash rate tends to the little hash rate price follows hash rate follows the miners, and so there has been a recent hash rate drop, and many show that it was because miners were actually pivoting to a more profit based mining effort went in the AI sector. So this is actually like a common thing whenever the network is overhashed, when basically a network has more or extra hash rate behind it than it really needs. You tend to get people that leave for more profitable structures. This is why the hash rate fluctuates. There's natural systems built into the entire thing that causes people to want to leave and want to come back, and the whole thing's designed around the ability to do exactly that. So the Financial Times perspective, again, it's 100%. It was 100% FUD from the beginning. There was nothing about it. They were actually wanting to, they were not there to give you information that would be helpful. They were there literally to just paint some narrative that you would believe. All right. So the words in the picture don't align in my perspective. So it says 12-year trend broken. Bitcoin should be valued a lot higher relative to gold, but it's not. The valuation trend broke down since quantum came to awareness. But I don't know. I look here, I see that they crossed a long time ago. They never really were trending together. It looks like we're on a very short. We're on a strange time scale, right? 2010, way over there. And I mean, like, really, just if you ask me, this kind of shows you more of something going on with gold than anything. If you ask me, that's all I see. That's all I see. And I'm gonna try to show you what I mean by that. Okay, now I do have notes on it. I'm gonna read the notes. Devaluation because quantum came into awareness. Why would one consider the difference of the price of Bitcoin to US dollar and the price of Bitcoin to gold when US dollar is not priced based on gold? These two metrics have no reason to correlate, and if anything, shows that either gold is dumping or people are not using Bitcoin to buy gold as much as they were before. So let's find out which one that is. Let's find out. Okay, so it does seem that, you're not getting as much gold for your Bitcoin. Right? Bitcoin's actually worth way more than gold now. Okay. So, alright. So it if it's not that people, okay, so this says people aren't buying gold with Bitcoin that much. So the Bitcoin gold ratio is split. Okay, that's fine. So what about the price of gold? Right? Oh, damn. 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 God damn. Why are they not talking about this murder? Holy 101.84 points down. It's 2%. Sure. Well, at 2% though. Okay. No, I'm just using similar settlement as. Okay. So it is down. So this would normally cause a spike in purchases, but people still aren't really doing that, even with their Bitcoin. So if anything, this kind of really shows people's sentiment towards Bitcoin is that it's worth more than gold. So that even with gold is quite low, people still are preferring to hold that Bitcoin instead of purchasing gold with it. So the article that since quantum awareness, blah blah, it's FUD. Now that tweet or whatever, FUD. Like even the picture chart in that tweet showed the correlation split sometime before quantum awareness. Now, I may have taken that one slightly personal because I am big into quantum technologies, and I've even written multiple papers on how faux quantum mechanics can actually work inside binary machines, like the one you're looking on the front page right now. This is one of them. Okay. You can even go to view the PDF. A nice, pretty picture and information, and even the math. Okay. All of it. Look, I took this personal because I have personal retrospects in this construct, right? In quantum mechanics, how does it work? How does quantum structuring? How does computers work with quantum? Blah 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 blah. It means a lot to me. I mean, I even gone through and I wrote this entire program that this is based on HTML JavaScript. That's how much it means. I can give you guys appendixes, proofs, all the stuff is here. Okay? Like, there is information in here that, unless you come read it, you won't even understand. It doesn't really make much sense. And that's fine. But my point is, I took it personal. So, the NSA of the US government, for a couple of years now, have actually been requesting quantum-resistant encryptions. So, the quantum awareness has actually been around for years. You know, let me take it off this mode so you can see it's actually a US government website. And I'm not joking. This has been going on. This one right here was released in March of 2025, last year. But actually, these things have been going on for longer. Like, we hit cybersecurity, we go down here, where you're gonna find more and more stuff. I don't actually remember where it's at. There's a thing where it shows you all the time they've asked for. They've done this more than one time. Okay. But hold on now. I'm going to take this a step further. I'm going to prove to you quantum awareness has actually been around for some time. Okay. So, first off, I want to prove to you, yes, this is a real paper. We're in reader mode to make it easier for me to read. Okay, so this came out literally while I was preparing this episode. Like, the real reason quantum was mentioned in the dev stuff was twofold. Google had made a large enough qubit processor that basically developer financial backers got scared. Okay, that means the people backing developers got scared and told their developers, "We want you to do something with quantum resistance. We want quantum resistant hardware, wallets, the whole shebang." Second reason was someone was already in the process of working on a solution for quantum resistance in blockchain, wallets, and signing. Like, I find the best at times. I get access to some of the top-notch information at times. And I actually did get government files once in the past for you guys on one of these episodes where we actually got U.S. government proof files that the U.S. government made UFOs out of wood and used diesel fuel engines to power those UFOs in the 1960s, with the actual plans to how to build your own version of one of those UFOs out of wood with a diesel engine. Like, we've done this before. This is a real, actual paper. This is about actually protecting the entire signing system with quantum resistance. Now, a lot of people are going to be looking at this, and a lot of people who try to read this are just going to be, fumbling over themselves with, what does that mean? What does that mean? And that's fine. The important part is there is now a way to sign with quantum resistance. And that's probably the biggest thing that I think most people are afraid of. Now, I'm going to drop this down, but we're going to keep going, and I keep this in the back of your mind. Okay. Oh. Okay. So, stop misleading immediately. Sailor Docs. Elon Musk have asked one question to Grok. As quantum attacking vector is not SHA-256, a digital signature on Bitcoin. Now I just showed you a picture. I just showed you an article, a document, a thing, um, a proof. I just showed you a proof on how to sign against with quantum resistance. Okay. So this is still about the same thing. So I've already shown you the answer. Okay. But I still want to explain this perspective. It's a little bit confusing. So Sailor says, Elon Musk asked Grok can quantum resistant rate. And what? Blowing mine 10% by 2035. So Grok says, based on 2025 assessments by the NIST, IBM, and expert surveys, the probability of quantum computing cracking SHA-256 via the Glover's algorithm, reducing the primate search to 2 to 128 operations is nearly 0% in the next 5 years, with 10% in 2035. Requires millions of error correcting qubits. Current systems top 1,000 noisy ones. Blah 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 blah. Now, one of the reasons why I showed the paper that I showed you guys that I wrote, the one that I wrote in JavaScript, it has 3 major self-correcting, error-correcting systems built into it, designed to automatically correct errors on the fly. The type of thing that this would need in order to be breaking. I've actually invented the technology, invented the math, and, well, not invented the math, I found the math and restructured it to work to be automatically self-error correcting encoding system. So any kind of system that's transferring from one thing to another, there is a way to use Hamming code, compounding Hamming codes to actually fully correct it as it on the fly, as you do things. Like something you would need for this type of tech. Okay, I took this person. Okay, so guy, okay, this is confusing. We're gonna prove this part inside here. Why does Grok say this? What does it mean? What is that? What is the Sailor thing saying? How is it right, wrong, blah blah blah? And how is this guy? Because I'm gonna be honest with you. This guy's tweet. This Jin Lu is base. He's got a base point. It's it's not exactly just SHA. It's not SHA-256. It's the digital signature. And we've already shown you how can you protect yourself in digital signatures. I want to show you why. By the time we get to the end of like one of these things, you're gonna understand why. Hopefully, I'm gonna leave this here. Actually, I'm gonna leave it here. I don't normally drop them down, but I'm just gonna leave it there because here we go. Here's some math. Okay. Okay. So first, let's look at the whole computing doubles thing, Moore's law, right? It's really does describe like mathematically something. I mean, you see, we can come in here and I can type in word. We can just hit the button and it changes, right? So they said thousands. Okay, we're talking possible thousands. Fine, 10,000s. Oh shit, that's a whole lot better. Okay, so what does this really show, anyways? That Grok. This just shows that Grok was using math like this to make that determination based on 0% today, how many years blankety blank until blankety blank. So now let's move on to actually disprove the criticism in Grok's answer. Okay. So they actually said, ask Grok, blah, blah, blah. I asked, okay? Like the tweet said, basically, well, this is fun, but it has some base parts to it. Okay. So I kind of pointed out that the inside of what his quote tweets and stuff were fed, he was being base, right? So, I lost my spot, my bad. Okay, so the base part is like reuse keys are bad. Many HD wallets nowadays actually like practice key reuse and centralized exchange practice keys. They use reusing. They practice key reuse. Many online wallet entities for accepting Bitcoin payment reuse payment keys. Like it's become part of a system that we really it's kind of there, right? Reused keys are at risk of all sorts of attacks, though. So let me read what it actually says in front of you. The post challenges shared screenshot, a widely shared screenshot of Elon Musk querying Grok on quantum threats to Bitcoin SHA, emphasizing that the primary vulnerability targets the ECDASA digital signature instead, which could enable theft of exposed private keys via Shor's algorithm. Only Bitcoin addresses with reused public keys, at about 80% total of the full supply right now, are currently at quantum risk. The best practices since Bitcoin's inception advise against reusing keys, because the key is hidden until spent. Recent 2026 advancements, including Bitcoin's initial integration of post-quantum signatures like those within NIST standards, offer larger but quantum-resistant alternatives to the ECDSA. So there's even alternative ways to bypass the main issue. Already, requiring millions of error-correcting qubits to correct. Again, it takes a lot to do it. Okay, blah, 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 blah. All right. So this really just kind of proves it was math used to come up with that determination. The part that is true is the reuse key part, right? Okay, cool. Okay. So, okay. So we're going to go take a step further, all right? Now, this may seem strange, but this point of how SHA works in general. Oh, wait, hold on a second. I just realized I skipped something. Okay, my bad. So, I asked Grok this really odd question. How many HD signatures actions would it take for an HD wallet to potentially reuse the same nonce? When you're going, what's so bad about reusing a key? It's the nonce. Okay? If you reuse the nonce, you fucked. Okay? And I'm going to show you how that is. But why is reusing a key potentially reusing a nonce? Well, let me continue. If this happens, at the considered potential rate, what number of actions with that one HD wallet key would it take to expose 1% of the private keys, extended pub key, seed phrase, or any terminable data points, information, blah, blah, blah. Like, list most potential to least potential, and consider real-world examples of reused nonces in Bitcoin or online to help and display the math and explain the math determined the chance of possibility. So what I'm asking Grok to do, use real-world examples to come up with the math to figure out the potential possibility of how much of your key stuff has to get exposed before it can be taken. That's really what we want to get out of here. And I'm asking it in a very convoluted way, so I'm not directly asking for that to be answered. We're hoping for it to get answered in the process. Let's go through the process. In a properly implemented signature, as used in Bitcoin HD wallets, the nonce is this big long number drawn or derivated into the field Mondro using the SECP256K1 curve in order to receive this in to 256. It's for the output. Assuming purely random independent nonces, the theoretical worst case model, some flawed wallets approximated. So what they're saying is they're like basically on this pure random consideration of independent nonces, even considering this theoretical. So it's understanding that the thing I'm claiming is most likely not completely possible. I mean, like it's possible. Like it's possible. Oh, wait, is it? It's very possible. Okay. There's a reason why they say the word theoretical, and it will actually tell us later. The worst case scenario is that there have been some flawed wallets, so those flawed wallets are being approximated into the data. So the number of signatures with the same private key needed for a nonce reuse to become possible is exactly 2. That's right. You only need 2 signatures on the entire chain to be able to show, well, nonce reuse. If there's nonce reuse, the very next time it is used, it is going to be noticeable. Any pair could collide by chance. So it's saying by chance this could happen at any point in time. Okay? So the probability of exact reuse is actually a huge, long ass fucking number. Alright? So that's the whole reason why we go back to probability. It's like, sure, it's possible. We've seen it. Do you know how hard it is for that to happen? Basically, someone has to design the software for it to happen in order for it to happen. That's how unlikely it is to happen. Okay? So if the M signatures number of the pairs is 2 squared over or divided by 2, then the overall probability is at least one collision approximately. And this giant ass number right here, they call it the birthday paradox approximation. It's an actual number. The birthday paradox approximation is an actual number. Okay? So to reach 1% chance of at least one collision anywhere in the set, this is your potential rate. It's a lot of signatures. It's a shit of signatures. Ooh boy, is that some signatures. So for 50% chance, it's only this many signatures. So just going from 50% to full is this dramatic change in the math, because it's a dramatic number change too. So these numbers come directly from solving the quadratic approximation above. They are so astronomically large that even the entire Bitcoin network signing every second since the Big Bang would never reach them. Ever. Would never reach them. If a reuse actually occurs, so the same R value in 2 signatures for the message hashes, the same private key. The private key is recovered 100% immediately with the classic algebraic attack. Your calculator can actually do this, okay? The classic algebraic attack is simpler and easier, and a calculator can do it compared to the formula to figure out the probability of this happening naturally occurring through the technical systems that we have set in foot already into the cryptographic community and Bitcoin itself. This is deterministic. Once the correlation exists, once it's there, it's too late. Boom, done, roasted. There is no 1% chance of the key stage. There is no percent chance. It's binary. It's either full private or full public. End of discussion. The same 2 signatures also reveal the announced key itself. Stored in HD wallet, this leaked child private key immediately lets an attacker spin that address. Simple as that. And so that's how we've always seen it too in the past too. Immediate. If the deviating hash is not hardened, and the parent xpub is public, the attacker can further computate into the full parent private key using this simple math. And then cascade all the way to the master private key, doing basically the same simple math to get the original seed phrase. Hardened abbreviation standardizations blocks this upward leap. Problem is though, it can't happen. Yeah, can happen. That's right. There's a lot of FUD placed on the fact that it's still fucking possible. Okay? Now let's go through the actual list. The most to least probable determination of data exposed upon exact nonce reuse on only one child key. And this is really important. So only one reuse ever. The child private key is fully, it's immediately spent. Gone. Parent address private keys, gone. Master private key, gone. Other child derivative keys and funds, gone. Public keys, gone. Well, technically, like they have all your public keys at that point. The real world examples confirm the math works exactly as written. I love that phrase. Confirms the math works exactly as written. Love that. This 2013 Android secure random bug affecting Bitcoin wallets like Mycelium, blockchain info, Android, like actual Android individual wallets, etc., caused repeated and predictable bounces after as few as 2 signatures per wallet. So what they're saying is there was in 2013 a situation, and keep in mind, I actually remember this. This kept me away from HD wallets for so long. Well, there was a bug that any 2 signatures basically created enough, it signed enough information where people could just determine and predict what nonce was used. And then boom, got your keys. Attackers scanned the blockchain for duplicate R values, ran the formula above that we saw, and recovered private keys. Drained wallets immediately. This was first seen on block 121.487. Similar to on-chain reuse has been found repeatedly. Advanced Polynounce and lattice variants have recovered hundreds of keys from related but not identical nonces. That's important. What this means is that there is a way for us to look at stuff and be able to see which nonces are nearly similar. They're not the same, but boy, they damn near. And the reason why we know how to do that is because the Sony PS3 firmware signing had a classic non-Bitcoin case that provided this actual attack, and all the implemented flaws were never actually random with this very specific signature collision point. And I say that's actually that's how many collisions that. A ton of them, right? And that's actually enough collisions. I'm just not noticing this. That is this almost the same number of collisions as the probability for 50%. So most likely those collisions was 25% of the classic birthday paradox approximation. That's a lot. Okay. So simple real world summary for the actual blah blah. These wallets have used the RFC 6979 deterministic nonce generation for years. Okay, wallets have used this deterministic nonce thing for years. Since 1.9 Electrum, since Bitcoin Core, since this Libra 256K1, the nonce is not random. It's computed as HMAC SHA-256 private key messaging hash. That's kind of my point here, right? That was my point of bringing this up. There's a lot of devices, hardware wallets, miners, nodes. Sorry, brain was not functioning. That use this old style system that the government grabs. Well, guess what? It wasn't safe. It wasn't good. And we didn't know that for a long time, for a lot of things. I think it went like 2 years before a lot of people even really realized that HD wallets are an issue. So every distinct transaction produces a mathematically guaranteed unique nonce. Right? The probability of reuse is therefore exactly 0 in normal operation. That's good. But okay, even the birthday paradox math becomes irrelevant if you need identical message or a 256-bit collision. Historical leaks where there is a non-FOSS or before the RFC 6979, like this whole Lipsec 256K1, where they're using a broken RNG, well, the modern false hardware wallets would never actually use this in the wild. So one keeper addressed standard HD practices. Well, there's a chance of 1% exposing the private key. Well, then you're done. So it's practically 0, even for 1%. I'm hoping that this was to give you some reassurance of just how secure some of this stuff really is. Okay. Also, okay. So this guy isn't wrong. It's not the 256 that's really at hand. It's the digital signature. And we've already shown how the digital signature is protected. We saw how this grok came up here. It's just math that came up with that. And we do see that, yes, Saylor and Elon Musk are both habituating the ideal that, well, the 256 is the issue that's going to be broken, blah, 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 blah. They're literally looking at the wrong thing on purpose to persuade you and push you and make you look at the wrong thing on purpose. What is up, Roadkill? Glad to see you in the chat, bro. Okay. So I had got these, and well, I'm gonna group these together. I got a couple of these. I'm gonna group them together. All right. So classified reports confirm that Eastern Defense hubs have weaponized Quantum Shore's algorithm to render all current digital currency obsolete. So Shore's algorithm, a little bit different than the other one we saw, right? Over $500 billion in encrypted assets were moved in a secret test system. So obviously this is fake. All right. Got another one here. Classified reports confirm that collapse of 256-bit encryption in under blah blah seconds using decentralized quantum mesh. Every bank account, crypto wallet, private key, and ledger is now an open book to those building the new math. It's not new math. There's no such thing as new math. Math is 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. There's no such thing. So this is fake also. So a lot of these that you see on Facebook is summarized by AI. A lot of this stuff, like this entire website, is bullshit. Everything about this site, everything about this, it's just fake. And same thing here. Everything about them, everything they post, it's all bullshit. And so you're getting more and more to a point where you can't just look at the stuff and be like, oh my gosh, it came from Facebook. It's summarized by AI. I mean, because we're seeing more and more where that's almost always incorrect and not working. But those kind of stuff lead you to this. Okay? Like, dead honest, those FUDs that we were just looking at from Facebook actually led me to this piece right here. And now I have to say this. Oh yeah, I have to say this. Why won't someone think of our encoding schemes? Just someone please think of the encoding schemes. Save us from this vulnerability of encoding schemes being known out there. Alright, so what are the encoding schemes for Bitcoin? Well, the main encoding schemes are, whoa, wait a minute, we know the encoding schemes? Holy, we know the encoding, okay, guess what? It's not, it's false data. So of course we know the encoding schemes. That doesn't, so this is bullshit. Bullshit. So what is this? What's this? Okay, so this is a glossary over encoding, okay? Bitcoin protocol uses several different encoding schemes, blah, blah, blah. To become represent data to users, the encoding schemes are chosen based on the data type to optimize the human readability. Text decimal base 58, so it has an alphabet consisting of 58 characters, including upper and lowercase letters in the digits 1 through 9. Base 58 excludes 0, uppercase O, uppercase I, and lowercase I to avoid reader confusion. Legacy Bitcoin addresses and private keys are represented in base 58. Base 64 has an alphabet consisting of 64 characters, including all uppercase and lowercase in the digits 0 through 9. The plus and the slash signs characters complete a set of 64. Partially signed Bitcoin transactions are encoded in base 64. Okay, so as you can see, like, we know the data. We know what they are. We know how it works. Ain't nothing new. So what does this actually say? Federal Reserve warns quantum computers could expose Bitcoin's hidden past. And if we actually go in here and read it, I have notes on here. Yeah, it says brief. Okay. So Federal Reserve study warns that the quantum computers, blah, blah, blah. The report finds that harvest now, decrypt later attacks are even an active threat. It's always been an active threat. While post-quantum cryptography may protect future transactions, the study concludes that there's no existing method that can retroactively safeguard data that's already stored publicly. The new Federal Reserve warns that the quantum computers can one day unlock the private history of Bitcoin. Now, that's a slightly different phrase than attacking our encoding schemes. As the very first image made you think. So, it says in this that it says that the risk is not distant. So, analyze, published the Federal Reserve, blah, blah, blah. This came from the Reserve Federal Bank of Chicago, by the way. Researchers call harvest now, decrypt later, and it's a simple concept. So, like, something that people have been doing, like, the governments have been doing it for over 10 years. The harvest now, decrypt later. They've been banking on that ideal for a long time. And the more we go through here, the more bull crap we see. They're using a lot of, like, big catchphrases and stuff. But what is it really that they're getting at is that, like I said earlier, when you sign, there's small amounts of information signed with every transaction that you sign. And some of those data points can actually be correlated and reversed throughout time later on. But I just showed you like a big long thing about how super secure those tiny little bits of data actually are inside your signatures right now. And especially now that we have an entire new way of doing these signatures that separates the data now into 4 parts instead of 2 parts, it's going to be even more difficult for a lot of the stuff to even do. So this stuff right here, it's like, sure, it could one day expose these things, but that's only going to be for stuff before that picture we showed, before that one setup of thing. So the other way of doing things. Okay. I do have something I need to say before we continue. So let me say it real fast. Quantum machines will be able to do all the calculations to be able to crack all the blank. The maths are already known. We already know what the maths are. And even if you know all the possible answers, you still have to try them one by one for each individual signature, one at a time. So quantum doesn't actually help attack that way. It actually hinders it. We've actually covered that in a previous episode, that non-quantum CPU, GPU supercomputers actually have a better chance by probability because it can actually find possibilities and simultaneously attempt to use that at the exact same time, unlike quantum computers of today. Alright, going on. I had to put that in there. Okay. So, moving on, we did mention out earlier, a long time earlier, one of the biggest threats to Bitcoin really is the information. Really is people using it. It really is governments in some way. So here is a bunch of speakers. We see this guy here. We see he has a nuclear degree in engineering, and he's a degree in nuclear engineering. From 1991. We got this lady here, a decorate from blah blah blah. This guy here. All these people have high degrees. They're in high positions, and a lot of them have had their degrees since the 90s. Early, this one's 2015. They do got some young bloods, but they got a lot of older people here too. 2002, 2006. So what's so special? Well, if you look at the faces and stuff like that, you'll notice a lot of these people, kind of have that. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. They have that woke face glare. They all have almost the same kind of stare where they're looking at themselves through you. It's like they're either all trying to be potential, like they're all trying to say, "Oh, look, I'm better than you" in some way, shape, or form, or they're all like trying to look at themselves through you, through the picture. That's what it feels like. Like they all have the same exact look on their face, except for maybe this like Enrico guy, this Stravan guy, and like a couple of other people. There's like a chick in here that has a different look on her face. Well, all these people have the exact same look on their face. Susan and Theresa Hudson, yeah. Okay, so, but what is this? Right? The role risk science in the new geopolitical security landscape, geopolitical tensions, hybrid threats, artificial intelligence, and beyond. This is, okay, so this right here is actually some speaking program that happened last year. This is from one of those speaking points. Okay? This is literally for government officials. These are these panelists giving this as a Norwegian Defense Commission communication. Look right here. Mandate. Consider what potential security and defense policy choices Norway could make in order to ensure Norwegian security in the interest of a 10-20 year perspective. Mandate. So it's not even an ideal or no. You don't understand. It already has to happen. Already has to happen. It's forced upon you. Just this one slide. I mean, the very first slide, it told you from the beginning, all of this is bullshit. We are living in an era defined by rapid technology, advancement, shifting power dynamics, and heightened global tensions. A lot of the heightened global tensions are actually from the government. So this whole thing is a hit piece. Look, here's the reason for climate change. You see how this ice crossing doesn't no longer go all the way across? Oh my gosh, climate change. Really, a lot of people who look at situations of things like this would say, well, there's more people living in this area. There's more human life. There's more physical life. There's literally more heat by bodies and weight and distribution of individuals and creatures. Which also means there's probably more life in the water, too. Okay, so maybe not so much climate change. Maybe just more people in one area than what used to be. And a lot of the stuff they're coming through here, and they're saying all this is so that way they can push a mandate. They don't really explain. Okay, but they're saying we have to create a mandate because of all these risks. I mean, gosh damn, look at the risk. It's a hybrid threat. God damn it, hybrid threat. Here's the actual security threat. Oh, NATO. Security framework condition risks. Complexity between categories of risk level sectors and actors. Like literally, this whole thing is a FUD. This whole thing is FUD. It's literally weaponizing trust. It's exactly what they're doing. They're weaponizing trust. I'm saying it right there. Do this. That's what they want you to do. Put the trust in others and the institutions so they can lie to you and convince you they know what they're talking about. Then here's the Nordic Gold thing. They did probably really bad to actually read it. So all of this is about what it says right there. That's what all it's about. So we're not going to watch a whole lot. We're just going to...
Now, if you're wondering where this...
I hate how every time you touch the thing, it just automatically goes, oh, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want.
Supposedly universal push for digital ID is coming from, the answer appears to be the United Nations, or UN. Introducing digital ID is part of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, that member states must meet by 2030, which is literally every country.
Again, mandate. You don't have a choice. So, okay, let me actually read what I have for this. Okay, so, the playbook we saw coming in 2025, we actually saw it coming before that, right? But basically, this whole thing is like, inject force compliance, repeat. I didn't actually explain that. So basically, what this entire thing right here, what it really is doing, because this was to the country of Norway and Nordic countries and stuff, what they're doing is they're injecting into smaller countries the laws that they want bigger countries to do. So you inject these force compliance laws into small countries. Now, because it's online, now all these other countries need to comply with you in order for you guys to be able to communicate and do things online, in order for your country's peoples to be able to communicate even. They have to now force compliance. Now, once you get a slightly bigger country behind you, and you get more countries behind you, then you have more countries behind you, well, it's a lot easier to force more compliance in bigger countries this way. And you just repeat this process. That's what this is. Weaponizing trust. By literally injecting crap into small countries that really cannot protect themselves from this type of weaponized digital data attack. This is a weaponized data attack done to the government, to these governments. And it's already happened. This is the past. We're looking at the past. Now you were you guys wondering, well, why is everybody coming at Bitcoin and stuff like that the way they have been? because it was an attack directly on them, and it was coming directly from the governments of like the UN. Okay. Let me make sure I give you this guy's post. He's got more stuff here if you want to. This is 3 years old. This is 3 years old. This guy's known about this for some time, right? So, I was sent a really odd phrase. This WEF Davis 2026 Massive Control Grid Unleashed, blah, 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 blah. Really weird, right? I was sent this really specific thing. And this video came up. This Crypto Casey from 2 months ago, and then other ones come up after it. And you see this one. This Wyon, I think, probably happened at the time of. And then Casey is basically maybe potentially rephrasing some of that data. But there are, like you see, this exact phrase does come up multiple times, and more people point out Casey and stuff. But from my understanding, part of this phrase used, the Massive Control Grid Unleashed Digital ID CBD script, was actually, or even tokenization AI, was the title, was part of the title of the DEF conference, or the WEF conference. I'm not gonna actually watch these or whatever. I do have a spot.
Control looks like in practice. Look no further than China right now.
Okay. And that's where a lot of these people are actually, they were years ago looking at China and what they were doing and saying, oh shit, we're gonna be fucked. And it's slowly coming at us. And it seems to be coming more and more and more at us every day, right? Because again, like was said earlier, like the AI pointed out earlier, the biggest threat to Bitcoin really is the data of information war. So there is a way for the U.S. to fight against possible like digital ID threats in this digital data war. But at the same time, that fight against that possible threat could actually also directly be used to attack Bitcoin holders, especially if the holder is a convicted criminal. So basically, right now in the U.S. government, there is a system where the president can just choose to take over financial transactions. They can choose to do all sorts of fun stuff. And there's a lot of power that can be unleashed, relinquished, used, blah, 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 by the U.S. president. And they've done this because of wars and things like that before. So we're actually completely in a situation, 100% in a situation, where this is potentially an attack vector. One of the biggest attack vectors that we've seen in a long time for Bitcoin, where this is probably some of the most potential reality things to look at, as we get the wrong president in one of these times and could be screwed very quickly. So here are all the times that they've like used it and stuff. Like this, whatever has been used multiple times. It's gone through and done blah, blah. I think there was a spot that actually explains some of that. Let me see. Let me see, it came out like 1977 or whatever. It imposes tariffs on almost all countries. I don't remember. There's a bunch of like stuff in here. So it's like, following community investigations discovered the United States had been in a state of emergency for more than 40 years. Congress passed National Emergencies Acts in 1976. In the EEPA in 77, the Paris state placed limits on presidential emergency powers. Both include report. So it placed limits, but also gives the ability to open up more powers to the president during emergency times. So presidents have declared 77 national emergencies invoking this thing, 46 of which are still ongoing. National emergencies invoking the whatever they last nearly a decade at a time. I don't know, though some have specifically last longer. Like the first state of emergency declared under this whatever was declared in response for taking the U.S. Embassy staff hostages in 1979 in its 5th decade. So it's like it's been around a long time. It has the ability to do things that a lot of people didn't even know you could just immediately give the president the ability to do, especially in the U.S. And one of the things that it directly allows the involvement of is interception, interaction, and whatnot of transactions. Bitcoin is transactions. My apologies. My nose is running. I have to keep blowing my nose, so it's why the volume is why I keep disappearing. Okay. So there's a lot of stuff here that if we're gonna have Bitcoin attack, this is probably one of the quick. This is gonna if this was to happen, this attack here was to happen to Bitcoin, it'd be so swift and quick. The holders would be screwed. And when I say the holders, I mean like they would be able to directly go after direct transactions, intercept, involve, and take over to seize Bitcoin. But this could also be used to fight digital war. It could be used to impose tariffs on countries that are giving us hell or problems, which Trump has already been doing some, but imagine it for not just physical stuff, but more digital stuff as well. Like the EU oath keeps coming after American companies or whatever, like the president could say, hey, look, nope, we're going to impose more tariffs. We're going to start collecting down on your transactions to our people. And it could make a difference. It could make a difference. Okay. So, sometimes FUD is wrapped around base, and sometimes base has bits of FUD in the middle. This isn't always going to be an easy road to look down. Some extra research, you see there are a ton of real-world types of attacks that can actually be made on the tech license holders entities around Bitcoin, but it cannot directly attack Bitcoin. That's just the way it works. It's the way Bitcoin was designed. Yes, there is base data showing governments of the globe are looking for ways to capture Bitcoin, or at least its holders and operators of the equipment that Bitcoin sits in. Got one more thing I want to show you. This was that screenshot from earlier, right? This is the picture, the most potential to least potential to expose your data. And in case you're forgetting, it says right here, it's instant. If it is there, it's instantly. You're fucked. Instant. No other way to say it. It's quite literally instant. Okay? The broader point of the perspectives you see and hear online are FUD. Generally, 99% of all of them are FUD. When people put shows of proofs, including me, the burden of checking that proof is actually on you, the viewer, the reader, the finder of the proofs. Often that means people push aside and care not to check. But they will also later use that data in some way. That's why the FUD is out there. But thankfully, maths work as written.
Yo, did you think you know? Did you think you hold? Did you think something new? That's the goal, to see from a new degree and get the change your mind needs to find something new. Life suddenly is easy for many, but when a wall appears, sometimes up is all you see. So let 3D guide to the side, yo, where there's a door though. Just be careful on your way out, for the first step is a do-si-do. A little bit Linus with something different, it's almost like he's something else. And regardless, maybe, perhaps it was that missing piece you was needing. Maybe it was that simple message you was searching. Definitely it's liberating us from our own mental mind tank. Boom goes the blast of thought. Boom goes the last spark with pot. Boom goes the mental mind tank. Don't show perspective, hit on the way out. Don't let your directive stop you when you doubt. Don't let the dire detection stop you from being getting excited. So the photons are delighted. Don't hesitate so we can line up the hash rate. Let me surmise the tide, submit the rate, and reduce the face while we mine our major bags. Crypto technology like cryptographic money, while hashing your life into a set of QRs. It doesn't matter, cause this was 3D changes perspectives. Thank you for joining the show. Please return next time for a new roll of perspective. Thank you for joining the show. Please return next time for a brand new perspective. Of perspective. Thank you for joining the show. Please return next time for a brand new perspective. Thank you for joining